This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We switch now from talking about Anthony Thompson to Deron Rippey Jr., nickname Ron Ron. I'm all in on that, and that's what we're going to call him today because I love it. I know, usually it's like, hey, my friends call me Ron Ron. I don't care. Today we're going with Ron Ron because I just absolutely love it. Ron Ron's a point guard, 5-star, class of 26, again, a current junior, 6'2", 175, so growing a little bit there. He's originally from Brooklyn, New York, another New York guard. Let's make that happen. But now plays at Blair Academy in New Jersey. AAU, he plays on New Heights Lightning. That's part of the EYBL. So Thompson's on the Adidas circuit, and Rippey is on the EYBL, the Nike circuit. And by the way, New Heights Lightning, that's the same team as Elliot Cadeau played for in the AAU. This weekend, by the way, literally saw this just a little bit before I was set to record. Was just named the MVP of the Shooting Stars Showcase. 21 points, 5 boards, 4 assists, 3 steals, and a partridge in a pear tree, right? I love that descending stat line there. Really cool. His offer was made public. I think his dad actually was the one to tweet it out. Deron Rippey Sr. on New Year's Eve. Pretty cool. Happy New Year, right? Like here's a scholarship offer from the University of North Carolina. Really cool stuff. Rankings at the 4 sites. He's just right around in the low 20s, basically. 247, he's 19 on 320, Rivals 22, and at ESPN a little bit lower at 28. Same thing as Thompson, not, I guess, quite as extensive an offer sheet, but Kansas, Stanford, SMU, Purdue, West Virginia, Providence, Maryland, Louisville, Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, Nova, Illinois, Syracuse, Texas A&M, on and on and on. St. John's, obviously, up that way. A lot of really, really, really great schools. But here's what sticks out to me. You know all those interviews when a guy sitting down with Theo Pinson or somebody, and it's like he's been in the NBA for 10 years. He's like, you know what was my dream school? North Carolina. Or if I had gone to college, I was going to go to North Carolina. Or I really wanted to go to North Carolina, but it just didn't work. Or whatever it is. How often do we hear that refrain? But it's different to me when it's on the front end like this. I read an interview, like not only do I like to try to watch a ton of tape, I like to try to read their interviews and just get a little bit of a beat on who these young men are. So I was reading an interview. This is back from the summer of 2023. So not this most recent summer, but the summer before with Perspective Insight. And one of the questions was, have you had a dream school growing up? Growing up, I wanted to go to UNC, period. There you go. Now, the way that's phrased, it's not like I wanted to go to UNC, so that's definitively where I'm going, right? Like, how many young men has that been true for? Or the flip, right? Like we've had others that was like, growing up, Duke was my dream school, but I went to X. Or, NC State was my dream school, and I went whatever. You know what I mean? He also said UConn is up there, Duke, Syracuse, and I'd say maybe Michigan. He talks in other interviews a lot about like how much academics mean to him and how critical that will be in making these decisions. So it's encouraging that UNC was his dream school, but it doesn't get him in the door. It's helpful, but it doesn't seal the deal. So let's go make it happen, right? His dad, this is, he just comes from a long line of athletes. His dad played at ECU, East Carolina University. In terms of his game, well, this comes from his own mouth. Quote, I'm a very tough defender. On defense, I'm aggressive. I like to pressure the ball. Offensively, I can make open threes. I can get my teammates open, and I'm pretty athletic for my height. Again, 6'1", 6'2". He's kind of grown into that. Something that's encouraging to me, I'm always like, in addition to hearing from them who they think they are as a player, and I'm also always interested in, do you have a good understanding of who you are as a player? It's one thing for you to say it. It's another thing for it to be true. And I think a lot of what he said from what I've seen and watched is true. But I'm also curious who they see in themselves. And for Ron, he says that Keontae George is somebody he's watched a ton, tries to model his game after. He's also heard people compare him to John Morant or De'Aaron Fox. I've heard him say those guys. And I watched an interview where one of the guys interviewing him talked about seeing some Spida in him, some Dylan Mitchell. So that's, or Dylan Mitchell, Donovan Mitchell, excuse me. Dylan Mitchell still in college right now. So that's really interesting stuff there. What I love is, yes, 6'1", 6'2", whatever. This homie's got hops, man. And I love it when a guard just takes you by surprise like that. And it's like, oh, yeah, come on. Now, I'm curious to see, does he have more growth in himself? Because that is an area of concern for me, is size. And maybe, I don't know, but I'm like triggered. I'm skittish on guards that are 6'1", 6'2", because of what's going on right now, because of having the smaller backcourt. Because could you imagine Carolina this year with the personnel that they have? But let's imagine a world where RJ Davis is 6'3", Elliot is 6'4", and Ian is still 6'5", and Seth is 6'5". We're talking, things are very different if that's, and honestly, yeah, they're very different because RJ Davis is in the NBA right now. So I guess that's a different conversation as well. But maybe I'm just skittish because of what's going on right now. But I would really love a bigger guard. Thankfully, Isaiah Dennis, who's coming in, is 6'5". Derek Dixon, who's coming in, is 6'3". So both of the 2025 guards that are coming in have size, and that's encouraging. But as I watch Rippey play, he seems like he plays bigger than that 6'2" that he is. In terms of what he sees in himself that he needs to work on, he speaks of his biggest area of growth being his jump shot, and recognizing that that's an area of continued growth. In terms of his biggest learning, I was really appreciative of this. I read in one of his interviews, he just talked about how much he needs to value the basketball, value every possession, taking great care of the basketball, and mentioned that in his time with USA Basketball, is some things he had learned from some of that. So that's good. Here's another very unique statement to me that he made. This one was in an interview with On3. He said this, quote, "I am the most comfortable playing with another guard who is like me. So we can have two lead guards, combos on the floor, who can set up the offense and score," end quote. That's unique, because a lot of these guys are like, yeah, I want to play with my buddies, but like if I'm a point guard or a combo guard, maybe a small forward and a power forward who I can interact with really well. A lot of these similar guards, it's like, hey, let me get mine. So I love this mentality and this mindset from him, specifically because how often has Hubert Davis said, I want two guards on the floor. I want that to be the case for me. And so knowing that that's something that Rippey is not only okay with, but like actively wants to happen, that to me, if I'm Hubert Davis, I hear that, and that is a talking point for me. I love this in you, young man, and we will pair you with somebody like you because we want two guards on the floor as well. Let's make that happen, right? Like that is an easy recruiting pitch for Coach Davis. So hopefully he has caught that statement from Rippey. So there you go. Thompson, Rippey, two of the most recent offers for Carolina, the class of 2026, now up to 8 offers in totality. Obviously, as we have talked about, we're still waiting on the Caleb Wilson news. Seems like it's down to Carolina and Kentucky, and that we'll get some information on it this month. So we'll see.